Hi, let us understand how to create a volume and mount against a container. Let's go ahead and do a small demo. Let me list the volumes available. Docker volume ls. I don't have any volume. Let me go ahead and create a volume. Docker volume create vol1. So one volume got created. Let me list the created volume. Let me go ahead and inspect this specific volume. Docker volume inspect. So this particular volume got created under the volumes folder within Docker, and I do have a folder called vol1. Let me get into this particular folder location. So within another terminal, I'll be getting into that specific folder location. I don't have any data now. Now let me go ahead and create a new container by mounting this specific volume. Let me list the containers available. Container ls. So these are all the 4 containers available. Let me go ahead and create a new container. Docker container run in the detached mode, and name of the container using underscore volume1, and I am going to mount it. The source of the volume is volume1, and the target, it will get mounted against the folder /folder. Just for identification purpose, I am going to mount against a folder vol_cont_folder that will get created within the container. And the name of the image I am going to use to start this particular container is Nginx. The container got created. Let me go ahead and list them. Yes, it is up and running. Now let me get into this specific container using the exec command. Docker container exec in the interactive mode, and open a separate terminal using underscore volume1. I am going to execute the /bin/bash shell. I am into the container. Let me list the folders available. I do have the folder that I had mentioned while creating the container. Now let me go ahead and create a sample file within the folder. Let me echo a sample data. So I do have a small test file created. Let me see the content available within this test file. Yes. So I am within the container, and within the container I do have the test file, and the test file is having a data in container. Now let us get into the Docker volume folder location. So this is the host machine where I am running the container, and I am into this specific location vol/_data. Let me list the files available. I do have the file that I created within the container. So what happened? The volume is mounted against a folder within the host file system. Any file or any content that I am creating within this specific volume, that will be physically getting replicated in the folder. Now let me go ahead and create some content within this folder location, that is within the host folder location, and it will get reflected within the volume attached to that specific container. Let me go ahead and do that. I am creating a sample test file. So I have created another file in_host.txt within the underscore data folder, that is the volume folder for vol1. The same thing will get reflected within the container as well. So basically any volume is nothing but it's a folder that is representing within the host file system. And the biggest advantage is whenever I am terminating the container, the folder or the volume will not get terminated. Let me go ahead and try that. Let me come out of the container. Now let me list the volumes available. Docker volume ls. I do have volume1. Let me try to remove them. Docker volume rm1. It will not get removed. The reason because that is already in use. Now let me stop the container and try. Still we cannot remove them. Docker container stop using underscore volume1. The container is stopped. Now let me try to remove the volume. Still I cannot do that. Now let me go ahead and terminate the container. Docker container rm using underscore volume1. So the container is removed. Let me go ahead and list the containers available. Docker container list all the containers. I don't have the container using underscore volume1. Now let me go ahead and list the volumes available. Docker volume ls. Still I do have the volume vol1. Now I am going to create another container and mount this particular volume and see what happens. I'm creating another container with the name using underscore volume 1 underscore reuse, and I'm going to mount the same volume 1 in this specific folder. Now let me get into that specific container and check whether those two folders existing or not. I'm going to use the exec command and get into the bash shell, and I do have the folder vol underscore count underscore folder. Let me get into this particular folder, and I do have the files that we had created earlier. So this proves any volume that we are attaching it to the container, when I'm terminating the container, it will not get terminated, so that I will have the data persisted, and even after removing the container, I will have the data within the volume and I can mount it against any other container as well. So to have any data persisted, we need to have a volume created and mount it against the container that we are running. So we had seen how to create a volume, attach it to a container, and what happens to the volume when I am terminating the container, as well as reuse the same volume in a new container and see whether the data is persisting or not.